So I don't do this super often, but I wanted to talk to you guys for a few minutes and just share some reflections that I've had in the not quite a week now since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And this video is not about his politics and whether we agree or disagree with every political point that he has, but it's instead about lessons that we as teachers can learn from a brother in Christ who died for what he believed in and for standing for what he believed in. I think there's lessons that we absolutely can learn from this. So first of all, a little bit of background. I actually was not very familiar with Charlie Kirk before his passing. I think I'd probably heard of him, but I wasn't following him. I was not very aware of what he was doing. My husband was. But in the days since his passing, I've watched probably way too many clips of him interacting with students, speaking, and just really kind of got familiar with what he was doing. And first lesson I learned from that is we are often not aware of all that God is doing. God is doing so much more. The gospel was proclaimed on colleges' campuses way more than I realized. And I thought that was really, really cool. The second thing, though, that really stood out to me was his boldness and his commitment to the truth. He stood by the truth of the gospel. He stood by what he believed to be true in many things, but there's a couple other areas that he was very clear on and very bold. And I'm even finding myself hesitating now to even name them because they're tough issues. I'm talking about abortion. I'm talking about biblical view of sexuality and marriage and gender. These are things that can be scary for us to talk about because the world has made them just put so much fear into them, feeling that, we're afraid to be labeled as hateful people and all kinds of worse things for holding a biblical view, a true view of these really, really important issues. And what I loved about Charlie as I watched these clips was that he had a firm grasp on what is true, on some things that really, really mattered. And he wasn't afraid to say it, and to say it to people that he knew disagreed with him. And it was amazing to see the impact that had, the impact of speaking what is true. Because I think what can happen is we can get so intimidated by the cultural narrative. We can get so intimidated by, what happens when other people say things and just the backlash. And we can get really worried. Man, I'm really going to offend someone. I'm really going to upset someone. And, they think so differently. And I'm not telling you to just stand up tomorrow and just go off. But I don't know, this has really caused me to think about and start to pray about, God, where would you have me be more bold? And I think it's something to make a matter of prayer, asking God, where do you want me to speak truth more clearly and be a little less afraid of what people think, a little less afraid of being misunderstood, and a little more concerned with what is true and right and what people actually really need to hear and what is actually most loving to say to them. And once again, it's not always that simple, right? I'm not saying to just go out and spout off things. There is a time to be silent, but there's also a time to speak. And so personally, and I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing, praying about, God, show me when those opportunities are, when you want me to speak, when you want me to be bold, and then help me take advantage of them and not let them pass by and miss out on them. And I think that's something that particularly teachers, you're in the classroom, you have this opportunity to impact the next generation. And I know it can be really scary depending on where you teach. And like I said, you need to be wise and careful, but I also think we can be more bold because these things are important. God's truth is best for everybody. And the gospel liberates, and just taking those opportunities when we do get them, I think is definitely something we can think about and pray about. And then one other thing that's really, really stood out to me in just watching him is his firm belief that we as a country need to talk about things we disagree about. I'm talking less about faith here and more about just cultural issues. And I think And yeah, politics too. I think that as teachers, we're not there to, teach our students necessarily to believe one political way or another, but we absolutely need to. I think we have an incredible responsibility to recognize that the state of our country right now is such that it is very hard to have discussions with people that disagree with you on hot button issues. It is very, very hard. The cultural narrative is people that disagree with you are hateful, they're stupid, they're awful. We just saw this horrible example of someone that, because they disagreed, they took a gun and shot somebody. This is not okay. And we have an opportunity as teachers to help our students experience healthy debate. What does it look like to look at two sides of an issue and actually debate the points? To actually talk about the issues rather than just getting mad at each other? What does it look like to actually talk with someone that you disagree and try to learn about their perspective, recognizing there's absolutely no way I'm right on every single issue. And I also have something that I can share with others that is valuable. So I think there's just so many ways, even younger kids, it's going to look different, but especially as you get older, taking those opportunities, being intentional about just trying to help students realize that, because we are losing that in our country. And if we don't regain it, there's going to be serious consequences. So that's a second thing. And then the final thing I think I noticed about him is just, I was going to say his courage. I was going to say he wasn't afraid, but honestly, I don't know. Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. But courage is doing what's right in the face of fear, right? And that's definitely what he was doing, is out there doing what he believed was right in the face of threats. And one of those threats materialized. But I can't imagine if he would have known this is going to cost me my life, that he would have stepped back from that challenge. I don't know. I don't know him enough to say that, but that's the sense I get. And so I just wonder, I think sometimes the cost feels too big, but the cost is small. We take these small things that we're afraid of, what someone might think. If I might get called into the admin's office, if someone might misunderstand, if I might get a bad evaluation, and we let them rule us. And I don't know about you, but I want to be more courageous. I want to do what's right. If God is calling us to do something, are we willing to do what is right regardless of the cost? Are we willing to count that cost and pay it if necessary? It's just it's really got me thinking. So those are just a few things I've been mulling over, I've been learning, and that I think we as Christian teachers have a very, very unique opportunity to really kind of take up this mantle in a way and carry on the work of sharing the gospel when you're able to, sharing truth as we're able to, and helping our students understand that we need to be able to talk about things we disagree with, and that is good, and that is healthy, and that is right. So I hope something in these thoughts was helpful for you. I'd be really interested in hearing just your thoughts and reflections as well. And if this is resonating with you and you say, yes, I want to be more bold, I want to speak truth, I want to impact my students for Christ, I want to help them see things the way God sees them, even if I'm in a public school and that's very, very difficult, I want to encourage you to join us at the Rise Up Summit. It is a free online conference for Christian educators in public school and in private school. And it's happening this October, just in a few weeks. And in it, we have so many sessions. It ranges from super practical topics like classroom management, student motivation. We also talk a lot about, how do we actually reach students? What are some ways that we can start good conversations? What are we allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? There's sessions for Christian school teachers, sessions for public school teachers. We would just absolutely love to have you there. Even just come and be encouraged by how many fellow believers there are out there seeking to impact kids just like you are. So I hope you can join us. You can sign up for free at riseupchristianeducators.com. In the meantime, my encouragement is just to pray. Pray for boldness. Pray that God would show you what he would have for you. Our paths are all different. He has different plans for each of us. But I think most of us could do with a little more boldness, a little more courage as we seek to follow Christ and make a difference in our students' lives.